guys, Sam here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am demoing the Windmiller preamp pedal by Aclam. This is my fourth, I guess, guitar demo of Aclam's pedals. I've done the Dr. Robert, the Mocker, and the Go Rocky Go, which are all Beatle-inspired pedals. And today it's a little bit different. It's inspired by a unit that Pete Townsend of The Who played. And Pete, if you didn't know already, is my favorite guitarist of all time. The Who are just one of my favorite rock bands. So I'm excited to show you this preamp pedal. It's strange. It's actually based off of a reverb unit, the Grampian Spring Reverb that Pete would play live mostly in 1966 and 1967. It's not a reverb pedal. It's just a clean boost preamp. And that's how Pete would use it, this Grampian Spring Reverb Unit. He would turn the reverb effect off completely, but crank that volume knob into his, at the time, Marshall or Sound City amps. And this was a way to get more crunch or volume out of the amp. Back in the day, you didn't have a million overdrive pedals to choose from. You might have had a fuzz pedal, but that was about it. So it was a really nice way for people to get more crunch out of amps. And this is something that Jimmy Page would do later on with Led Zeppelin. He would use his Maestro Echoplex tape delay and turn the echo off completely and just use the unit as a boost into his amps. So I'm going to be taking you through the pedal. It's really simple. It's just, as you can see, a gain knob on the left. The Grampian was originally just a volume and a reverb section. They added the EQ section here, which is really helpful, just low cut and high cut. So it's a bit backwards. The low cut will cut the bass as you turn it up, and similarly the high cut will cut the high end. So you kind of have to think backwards a little bit. But it's a great, really powerful pedal, powerful in terms of the volume. And so I'm going to be taking you through that. I'm going to be playing some Who-inspired guitars, of course, my Gretsch 6120, which Pete used a little later on. In '67, The Who's album, The Who Sell Out, had just come out. And Pete used a Strat mainly on that one. So I'm going to be using a Strat, an SG Special, of course, and the 6120. I'm going to be playing into my 1965 Fender Bassman amp, which is a very loud amp. And that's a good segue to talk about amps and boost pedals and how to use that. So before I start playing, I'm just going to explain a little bit also why I have this other non-Aclam pedal over here. So Aclam actually says to use your favorite overdrive after the Windmiller. And the reason for that is, you know, the Windmiller is so powerful, as I said, with volume, that if you plug it into, you know, an amp like this, which is 50 watts, it's going to really add a lot of volume. You know, your neighbors might not be happy. You're not going to get a ton of crunch out of the Windmiller on its own. You're just going to be boosting the amp, really, when you turn this up. So if you have a small amp, that is very helpful. If you have a, I don't know, like a Vox AC10 or a little Tweed Fender amp that's like 5 to 10 watts, if you use the Windmiller gain and you crank it up, it's going to be awesome. You're just going to get more distortion. You're not going to get a ton of volume lift. It's just going to make the amp compress and crunch, which is great. Personally, I like big, loud, clean amps. And this Bassman will crunch up, but it's going to be deafening. It doesn't have a master volume like a lot of modern amps do. If you do have an amp with a master volume, that's awesome, because that way you can get as much crunch as you want and then dial that master volume back to just, you know, get less volume out of it. And if you put a boost in front of crunching overdrive, you're going to get, as I said, with the smaller amps, just more crunch, not a lot of volume. Now, if I'd switched the order of this, so if this was after the King of Tone, you would actually just be getting the same tone from the crunch of the King of Tone and just more volume. So if you have a boost after your crunch, you're just really adding volume. You're not really adding much character or different flavor of drive to it. So this is a really good way to do it here. Got the King of Tone, which is really transparent and nice crunch. The Windmiller is going to be, you know, pushing the King of Tone into the Bassman. I will show you what the Bassman sounds like though without the King of Tone, just clean right now. So it's set at about 3 right now. You know, the volume can go much past that and crunch, but it's going to be really loud. So here's the Windmiller straight into the Bassman without the King of Tone. So when I start to really dig in, it's already crunching a little bit, and you'll see the jewel light is going off. So now let's be really deafening and bring that volume up. So this is really just pushing the Bassman. Sounds awesome, but it's extremely loud. Just gonna go all the way. So I don't recommend doing it this way unless you have really nice neighbors or you just happen to be able to play extremely loud like I can sometimes. So that's a good reason why I have the King of Tone, is because I can now just get a normal amount of crunch. Let me turn the Windmiller off there. Now we can use the Windmiller to really add to that. So let's see here. That's pretty subtle. Let's get it a little more crunching. So it's really adding a lot, actually. I might tweak the low end a bit and just kind of see what the EQ can do now. Got a lot of treble out of that. Let's bring the volume all the way up here. Alright, so I got the SG Special, which is obviously very, Pete inspired, Tommy and Live at Leeds and all that. So this is a good, P90 guitar. Got a lot of hot output out of these pickups. So let's see what this can do. I'm just going to turn the King of Tone on. Yeah, so the P90s are really great because those hot pickups are really pushing the Windmiller into its own sort of, clipping, almost. Let's just hear what it sounds like on its own. So it's not necessarily making the Bassman, crunching up too much on its own, but see what else it can do with some EQ maybe. Alright, well, I think that just about does it. That was really fun for me to get some Who-specific tones. The Who are just so awesome. If you guys haven't checked out like the Who Sell Out or Tommy or Who's Next and Quadrophenia, that whole era, Live at Leeds too, there's so many great guitar tones in there. And the Who Sell Out specifically, when Pete was using, the Grampian, is really cool. I Can See for Miles and Odorono is a personal favorite of mine. Stuff like that is really cool because it was the Summer of Love, '67, and it's kind of the Who's take on Sgt. Pepper, sort of. It's their own spin on it. But the Windmiller is really cool. Even if you're not a Who fan, I think that there's a lot of great applications for this. If you're, a modern gigging live guitarist and you want to be heard and your guitar solo really needs to be heard, just put this last in your chain and turn it on and you definitely will be heard. Unless, as I said, you have a really small amp, like a 5 watt or 10 watt little amp, it might not cut it because, those amps just have a finite amount of volume based on their nature. But for most amps, this is going to really crank up the volume. The EQ section is really cool. And and it's been helpful for me with my Beatles covers, even having this on my board, because there's certain covers that I do where the tone is very specific, and it's been helpful to, you know, use the EQ and get a little more lift out of like my AC30, for example. So thank you guys for joining me again. Thank you, Aclam, for sending this over. Go check out some Who songs and check out Aclam.
She couldn't ever sing